Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, living beneficiaries, to the show for living beneficiaries, the House of Hidalgo show on the Estate Radio Network. Prepare for the most educational 60 minutes on all of radio with your host, Rick Hidalgo. The House of Hidalgo show can be followed on Twitter or Facebook by searching House of Hidalgo. Find the show on the web at www.therockofsalem.org. Sign up for the newsletter, and while you're there, take the 5-question survey to let us know what you think. The Estate Radio Network is part of the Blog Talk Radio family of networks and can be found at www.blogtalkradio.com/South Dakota DP. Join the show now by chat or call 619-639-4605. Don't forget to dial 1 to get in the queue. Here's your host, Rick Hidalgo! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Hidalgo. I am your host, of course, for the House of Hidalgo show. We are on the Estate Radio Network. And tonight we have another special show. I'm inviting back my good friend David Frank, who of course was a Martin Luther King Jr. Award recipient in Indiana for his idea of how to change, how to bring about Dr. King's dream of all men being equal. He has a technology that he shared on this program before. That technology, we're going to give him an opportunity here to share it one more time, at least in the first half of the program. The second half, we'll spend some time just talking about different things. Maybe we'll cover some current events and how they pertain to this new technology. It's not really a new technology. When I say that, I don't want to give it the wrong impression. It's the idea is you can vote for American Idol. You can vote for who's going to win America's Got Talent or for any other thing that you see on TV these days. But when it comes to having your voice heard on a particular pertinent issue, our voices are not heard, and that's the intent of this particular technology, is to be able to bring the voice of the people to the forefront. So let me get David in on the call here, because I couldn't even get it to give a dial tone, David. Skype didn't even seem like it was dialing out at all.
Very strange, very strange. So how you doing, Rick? Thanks for having me on your program.
Yeah, not a problem. Sorry it took so long there, David, but we do have you on now, and we can get started. I've already introduced you, and let people know that you received the Martin Luther King Jr. Award in your particular area, and we talked a little bit about your technology. Would you kind of brush us up a little bit? Just kind of give us a brief explanation of what that technology was again.
Sure. Technology is great when it works right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been an activist in this community for 25 years. Used to do a radio program here called Stand Up America. And I used to tell the people that the politicians don't have the answers for you. You have the answers. You, the people, know what kind of community you really want to live in and what kind of community you don't want to live in. And so consequently, the politicians in this area sort of hate me for saying that, because they want you to believe that they've got all the answers to these problems, but they don't. So what we've been doing is we've been pushing a program that lets people know that top-down systems benefit the people at the top. And, I mean, that's obvious. The figures are out that show that 5% of the population now owns 80% of the wealth, which leaves 95% of us fighting over the 20% that's left. So it's no wonder that we're all broke and we're all, there's so many people in prison today and the whole bit. And what we need is a ground-up system, a system that's fair for everyone, not just the people at the top. And so the plan that I promote is, the answer isn't in Washington, it's not in state capitals, and it's not with the 9 people that sit on the city council. It's with the people, all of the people. When they said we the people, they didn't say 535 in Washington or 150 in state capitals or 9 goofballs that sit on a city council. It said we the people. That means all of us. And so what we're doing is we're making people aware of the fact that if you want to fix America, you do it from the ground up. We live in the 21st century. We now have the technology where, we're voting on American Idol, we're voting on CNN, we're voting on Fox, all these different venues, but we're not voting on the important things in our lives. And those are, our taxes and our health care and our infrastructure and our education system, the things in our communities that really make up America. So what I make people realize is that, look, we live in this world that's full of miracles. When I was growing up, we had 3 broadcasting stations. Now we have hundreds. And we've got, stations like the Food Channel, the Sports Channel, the Travel Channel, all these different channels, but we don't have the most important channel. And the most important channel is your community issues television and radio channel. And this is the channel that will allow you, the people, to come up with ideas to make your education system better, your environment better, a better tax system, a better health care system, whatever it is. And you can present your ideas directly to the community. We don't want to present our ideas to politicians anymore because we now know that government, whether it be federal, state, or local, is where great ideas go to die. And what we need is a system that allows great ideas to thrive. So what you'll be able to do over this local issues television and radio channel is present your idea directly to the community. What we'll do is we'll debate your idea because we want people to be educated on whatever idea you're pushing. And then, as I said, we're voting on all these different venues. What you'll do is you'll set up a community computer that will have your citizen participation identification numbers. That way you can vote with any touch-tone phone. Your call will go into the computer. It will verify you with an ID number and a PIN number. It'll ask what issue number you'd like to vote on. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Count your vote, block you out from voting more than once, and we can now have decisions made of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's what I push, Rick. I just think people in this country, in fact, people around the world, I mean, it's just amazing that the Egyptians are so sick of this system that they have the guts to stand up and demand something better. And they aren't pushing for the kind of so-called democracy that we have here. They want a real voice on real issues in their lives. What we've got is the plan to do it. I'm trying to get my information to not only people in the community, but people in this country and around the world so that we can stop fighting each other and start working together.
Absolutely perfect. I'm going to tell you, I've heard you say on several occasions, Frank, Mr. Frank, boy, I tell you, I'm just all messed up tonight, aren't I?
You can call me Dave. Dr. Dave. Call me Dr. Dave. I like that. You've heard of Dr.
Okay.
J? I'm Dr. Dave.
Dr. Dave, okay. Okay, gotcha. As long as I don't screw up and say Dr. Frank, but...
That's fine, too. Whatever.
All right.
Nice dinner, huh?
Well, what I was trying to get at before I screwed up there was, I've heard you say on several occasions, David, that that if somebody else has a plan, hey, great, you'll jump in and you'll follow. It's all about having a plan. It's all about being able to put something together and rally the people around it. I wanted to bring something up here, and we can just kind of talk about it a little bit. One of the reasons why your plan sounds a lot more effective and a lot more possible than some other people's plan. Let me bring one plan to you right now. I just recently ran into this. There's a lady on Facebook. I don't even know how old she is. She does not look very old, so I'm thinking that she's probably in her 20s, maybe, if that much. And she she has developed a plan, and apparently there are thousands of people that are behind this particular plan of hers. And let me just kind of give you the gist of this plan. There's a group out there called the Patriots Guild. Okay, and basically what they're calling for is they're calling for a group of people, everyday common people like you and me, to take time out from their particular jobs, especially calling on like full-time truckers. Okay, what they want to do is they want to literally block in. We're talking blockade here. This is, in my opinion, it's almost an act of war. But anyway, I'll leave my opinion out. And I'll let you kind of go into it here. They want to block all the roads coming in and out of Washington D.C. and basically pin in the Congress, the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, until they actually get something done. Okay, that's a plan. It's on the table. They got a plan. It's written out. It's right here on a website. I'm reading it right now on Facebook. You know, David, you talk about a bottom-up change. You're talking about the people taking authority over what belongs to the people. You know, we're the ones. We're the created ones, we created that government. So we, you know, in essence, we have authority over that government. No matter how you look at it, it's we the people. It's by the consent of the governed that the government's even there. So what do you think about this approach? It's another top down type of approach, trying to get those guys to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea to get the attention of the American people, but the bottom line is you can get the attention of the people in Congress all you want, but they don't have the answers for 300 million people, because when out of 300 million people you only use 535, it's a brain-dead system. So you can go and tell them to go to work, or, you know, you can block them in all you want, but the bottom line is they don't have the answers. They've already sold their souls to the lobbyists and the special interests, and, you know, that's really all I can say. I think it's nice that they're trying to capture their attention, but they're trying to get something that can't be delivered. The people know what kind of world they want to live in. 535 people that make $200,000 a year, have health care, have the best retirement. They don't live in our world. We, the people, live in our world, and we are the people that have the ideas to make these problems go away. So I think it's a nice idea that she's doing, but I don't know what she's really looking for. You know, I think that the best way to do this is, if you want to fix America, you do it the same way you eat an elephant. You do it one piece at a time, community by community. By doing that, by fixing your own communities, what you're doing is you're building a solid foundation for America. You know, America's falling apart. They've sucked the life out of our communities, and our communities are the building blocks of America. You know, the whole is made up of the sum of its parts. Every community is a part of America. The reason that it's going in the direction that it's going is they've set up this bogus tax system in every community that's sucking the life out of our communities. The only reason that the economy is bad is very simple. You can understand it in 4 words. There is no cash. Think of the old black and white movies from the Depression. You had all the manpower in the world. You had all the resources in the world. The thing that was missing was the cash. They sucked all the cash out of the stock through the stock market. When they imposed these bogus taxes on our communities, what they've done is they've sucked all the cash out of our communities. Very simply, just so, you know, this is a little economics. Let's pretend you and I, Rick, represent all the people in our community, and let's pretend $100 represents all the cash. When I trade with you, the state capital gets 7%, And when I trade $100 with you, you've got $93, and the state capital has $7. When you trade with me, I've got $86, and the state capital has $14. When I trade with you and when you trade with me, as we go back and forth, after a matter of time, the state capitals have all the money. There is no cash in our communities. Think of all the money that we're sending to state capitals. They're getting the sales tax, they're getting a percentage of the property tax, they're getting fishing licenses, they're getting license plates, they're getting driver's licenses. All of that cash is being sucked out of your community. Think of your community as an engine, but it has no oil, and if it has no oil, the engine can't work. Think of your community as a body. If a body has no blood, it can't function. What they've done is they've set up this greedy system in every community around the country. Now, some communities have gone bankrupt already. They've already sucked the cash out of it, and you're seeing them die. And that's what's happening in just about every community in the country. What the people need is a voice so that they can tell their state government, forget it, we're not going to finance you anymore. We're going to set up a tax system where our tax money doesn't go to Washington, it doesn't go to state capitals, it stays right in your own community. Think of the money in your community sort of like the blood in your body. Think of how the blood circulates in the body, and you need that blood to nourish all of the cells in your body. That's what you need cash in your community for. And if I shoot you in the side, Rick, and all of a sudden you're bleeding on the floor, it's only a matter of time until you die, right?
Right.
And that's what's going on in every community around the country, and that's why America is dying. And that's why we need a voice in our community to say, no, we're going to keep our money right here. We're going to solve our own problems. We aren't going to rely on 535 people in Washington. We're not going to rely on 150 people in state capitals. And we're going to quit relying on 9 goofballs that sit on a city council that are going to spend our tax money. We're going to give those issues directly to the community, and we're going to let the community decide where they want their money to go and not go. And that's basically it. I'm trying to get people to stop focusing on Washington and stop focusing on state capitals and start focusing locally. Because once you hook up the necessary communication technology in your community, they're going to do it in every community around the country and hopefully every community around the country or around the world. This is a system that they can use in the Middle East. They're looking for the needle in the haystack. Who do you want to be the president? Who is the all-knowing? You know who the all-knowing is, Rick? The all-knowing is what we all know. The trick is tapping into what we all know. All I've done is taken the 3 components that are now available through the miraculous technology that we now have. You got a TV? Yeah. You got a touch-tone phone? Yeah. Well, why don't you just watch issues over your TV and vote by phone, and then we'll have the calls go into one computer that will have your ID number, and it will verify you as a voter, make sure you only get 1 vote per issue, and we can now have decisions made of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Right. Well, let me take this opportunity. I'm listening. In my head, I got a voice. Okay, the voice is the devil's advocate, right? There's a guy who lives in upstate New York. Okay, this is kind of a fictional character, but it's based on what somebody's actually thinking right now as they're listening. Okay.
Okay.
You got this guy in upstate New York. He lives a pretty comfortable life because this system has given him a pretty comfortable life. He's kind of upper middle class, and he loves what it's all about. And he'll say to you, David, we have representation. That's if you don't think you're being heard, you write your senator or you write your representative, and you tell them what it is that you want done. Are you saying, David, that's not working?
Well, what I'm saying is if I'm your lawyer and you and I don't communicate, I can't represent you, can I?
Exactly.
And if I'm your doctor I can't represent you unless we communicate, or your insurance agent or your realtor or whoever. I'm 65 in a couple months. These guys have never communicated with me. They have no idea how I feel about the issues, and I think if your listeners were honest, they would feel the same way. So we really have no representation. We know that they're listening to the special interests because the corporations in America are doing very well, right?
Yeah.
So they have communication with the corporations, the special interests, but they don't have communication with the people. What this technology will do is allow everyone in America to have a real voice on the issues that they're concerned with. And keep in mind, not everybody's going to vote on every issue. You know, I might be interested in educational issues in our community. There might be somebody else that's interested in healthcare issues. Might be somebody else that has better ideas to make our infrastructure better. But what we've got to do is we've got to tap into as many brain cells as possible because, like I said, what we have right now is a brain-dead system. Out of 267,000 brain cells in our community, when you're only using 9, brain dead. And that's why nothing works. And then when you top it off with the fact that these people are taking bribes from special interests, keep in mind, Rick, if you're a person that's making decisions on issues, whether you're talking about a juror or a judge on a bench or a politician, whenever a person like that in that position takes money for rendering an answer to an issue, he will always take money to render the wrong answer. You never bribe somebody in a position to make decisions on issues to make the right answer. You wouldn't have to bribe them. That was his goal, right? You bribe them to make the wrong answer. And that's why issue after issue, you look at the healthcare system in our country, it's a failure. You look at the education system in our country, it's a failure. You look at the infrastructure, it's a failure. The judicial system, it's a failure. The penal system, it's a 21st century modern day concentration camp. And that's what these guys have built, and it's all based on money. It's not based on the truth. And I think that we, the people, by using as many brain cells as possible, can find the truth. There was a guy a couple thousand years ago who gave his life to get a message out. He said, "Seek the truth. It'll make you free." Well, I can tell you that the answers that are coming from these people are the opposite of the truth. They're bought and paid for greedy, hypocritic decisions.
Can I say amen?
And hey, you got any callers out there?
Yeah. There's callers. There's several people in the chat room too right now, but there's no one's called in yet. If you want to call in, you certainly can at 619-639-4605. That's the call-in number. You're certainly welcome to do so, or you can ask questions in the chat room if you can figure out how to ask a question. I had somebody tell me that they were having trouble asking questions. But someone did ask a question last night in the chat room, so I know it's possible. David, what I really enjoy about this particular show and what I try to do in order to separate myself from the other guys, and you know who the other guys are. We're talking Alex Jones and Glenn Beck and all those guys.
The guys that talk about the problems.
Yeah, right. That's how I differentiate myself. I try, the idea here is that all of us are living beneficiaries of this global estate. The world doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us.
Absolutely.
And we're living beneficiaries of all that's here. And the entire intent of this particular show is to help people come to grips with answers, not questions. We all have too many questions as it is, So on that note of coming to grips with the question or with the answer, David, it seemed to me that the enemy is clear in this case. I mean, we're talking about corporate interests. We're talking about insiders, people that are obviously taking advantage of we the people. Now, how, can you imagine? Have you taken time to imagine this world that you're talking about, David? This is pretty awesome because I had a thought today as I was preparing to greet you on this show tonight, I had this thought about free energy. You know, we've known that for decades. You know, since the early 1900s when Tesla had a process that would have provided wireless energy to the entire world for absolutely free, using the ionosphere to conduct that energy, to bring that energy to the entire world. Can you imagine what differences there would be in the world today? I mean, if the world had free energy, can you imagine what could happen in a community if the community was to bind together in such a way to where they pressed on these issues and said, look, you know, we know that this is able to be done, and it's been being suppressed for years and years and years. We want it now. What if the people actually stood up and said, you know, not I want my MTV, but I want my free energy? You know, I mean, think about it.
And this would unlock that intellectual potential that would be just astounding. And when you combine that with today's miraculous technology that we have, there's no doubt in my mind that we can cure cancer and diabetes and the energy problem. We can make education better than it's ever been. We can have a judicial system that works for the people and not for the lawyers and the judges. You know, we can have alternatives rather than just putting people in modern-day concentration camps. And, you know, think about the laws that we live under. Before they were laws, they were called bills, and they were called bills for a reason, because they were punishments. Everything that man gives us is a punishment, and that's why, you know, that's the world that we're living in today. Compare that to the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are great ideas for society so that we can live together in peace, and we can resolve our issues not through violence, but through reasoning and discussion and agreeing to disagree and communication. But if you don't have communication, you have nothing. If your household doesn't have communication, it fails. If your business doesn't have communication, it fails. Think of what they do when they're at war and they want to overtake a country. You know the first thing they do, Rick? They destroy the communication system, because without communication, you have chaos. But conversely, if you want to build a community, the first thing that you do is you build that communication system so that you don't have chaos, but you bring those ideas together. And that's what this is. See, Rick, the politicians figured this out a long time ago. What they did was they started remapping America with gerrymandering. And for those who don't know what gerrymandering is, it's remapping a district so people can get elected or reelected. The phone company figured it out with area codes. They started remapping America so that we could communicate better. The Postal Service figured it out with zip codes so that we could get our mail more efficiently. And that's what we, the people, have to do. We have to realize that we need to get organized, and we can remap America too. You know, right now America is made up of these different shapes and sizes, and we can't get organized. Overnight, we can use computer and satellite technology, and America can now look like a honeycomb. Your community will look like a hexagon, and the reason that it looks like this, if you look at God's creature that's most responsible for making the world beautiful, it's a honeybee. And for whatever reason, he stores the fruits of its labor in a honeycomb, and a honeycomb is made up of hexagons. Your community will now be a hexagon. The nucleus will be a local issues television and radio channel to send your ideas out, ideas that you have for making your community better. We'll debate them. People will vote on them. We'll implement them. When we find things that work in our community, we'll share it with 999 other communities around the country. When they find things that work in their community, they'll share it with us, and we can start rebuilding America from the ground up.
We actually do have somebody on the line here. Let me see if I can get them on. 5673, you're on the line. Do you have a question?
Hello, how you guys doing? Yeah, I do. David, I like the idea. I do have a couple of questions, though. Okay, you know, the way our system is set up today, we have always, you know, people with special interests and all that. And take up an issue like abortion, for example. I mean, how would the system work when you have so many people for abortion and so many people against abortion? You know, I mean, how would we somehow balance that out? Because will we still go with the majority rules in the vote? Or how would that process kind of work? Have you thought that out?
Yeah. You know, keep in mind that under our present system, we go with the majority anyway. You know, we're going with in the 500 or 435 in the House, we go with the majority there. The 100 in the Senate, we go with the majority there. In state capitals, you go with the majority, and even on your city council, you know, 5-4, you know, you go with the majority. And but I try not to get too involved in the issues. But one of the reasons that we're having so many issues in our lives, and remember, issues are just questions. But abortion is one of those issues that when you have a dysfunctional system, what happens is you have a dysfunctional society. And abortion is a symptom of a dysfunctional society. You know, it's a society that's not thinking. It's sort of a society that's out of control. Hey, I'm so old, you know, what we used to do years ago is we used to get married and then we'd go on the honeymoon. Everything's backwards now. Today you have the honeymoon and then maybe you get married. But when you have that honeymoon, a lot of times you know, get somebody pregnant and then there you go. That they're in that ball game. But yeah, it's the majority. And keep in mind that the reason that it's really important for the majority to decide, and also keep in mind that in this system, the majority and the minority always changes. You might be part of the minority on this issue, but you might be part of the majority on the next issue. So what we've got to do is realize that the thing that's really neat about the majority winning is it makes the most people happy. Right now, what we have is a system where the minority rules the majority. You know, we have 535 that rule 300 million, and I can't remember the last time I heard an idea or a bill, a law come out of Washington or state capitol or even downtown where I went, boy, that really makes a lot of sense. So what we're doing is we're being forced to live with our lives with these issues that really don't have any good common sense solutions. There are solutions out there. I don't have the answers. The people have the answers. And I think what we do is we start to educate people on the issues that are plaguing our society. But first, what we have to have is a system that's functional for everybody. And right now we have, once again, a dysfunctional system, and it's really working for maybe 5% of the population, but the rest of us are, you know, just sort of surviving. And, you know, when you're surviving, you're on survival mode, and desperate people do desperate things, and, you know, this is where we're at right now. I don't know if that really answered your question, but the answer in short is, yeah, you go with the majority. I mean, you don't want to go with the minority. That you don't do that with any system. You go with the majority, but the majority always changes.
Yeah, that it does. Okay, so in other words, on state issues, everybody could just vote on the state issues, just like we're basically doing now. And when it would come to a national issue, we would transfer to a national way of voting, right?
Yeah, what you'll do is you'll have, actually it's not so much state, because there's only 50 states, and we have 6 million people in the state of Indiana. That's where I'm at. You've got to break the pieces down even smaller. You've got to do it community by community. The state has been, our system is very simple. It's a multi-level marketing pyramid scam. We're all sending money to the federal government. We're sending money to the state, giving it to the local. We're waiting for that money to come back, and it doesn't come back. So, and that's why we're all broke. What we've got to do is we've got to start deciding in our own communities how we feel about these various issues. And then we'll use the federal government to keep track of the 1,000 communities around the country. When the majority of those communities adopt issue number 007, for example, then we'll be all set up to have a national referendum we can paint the rest of the country that way. But first, you test market it in your own community.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because then basically we'll have one set of national laws for all the communities then. In other words, our law, since we're talking about not having a jury system, a judge system, but, that's what I'm trying to comprehend within this, and I like it, trust me, I think it's all workable, is, would this be just a national law? Every community or every state, however it would be set up, we would have a set of laws that everybody follows, not no particular state by state like we have it now. It would be a national law.
But it starts in the community, and you had mentioned the judicial system. The judicial system doesn't work anymore. The penal system doesn't work anymore. What you've got to do is you've got to have people come up with ideas to make the judicial system better. For example, there's been an idea that's been thrown around forever, and it's died in America, but the idea is loser pays. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, been there, done that.
Yeah, if I sue you and if I lose, I not only pay my lawyer, but I pay your lawyer too. And what that does is it prevents people from prevents this country from being this litigious country that we have, where it's of the lawyers, by the lawyers, and for the lawyers. And this system is of the people, by the people, and for the people. There are people right now that have ideas to start changing your judicial system in your community, idea by idea. And the same holds true for the penal system. And the same holds true for the education system. And what's going to happen is specialization is going to take place. For example, years ago, there used to be a town doctor that knew a little bit about, your stomach and your eye and your hand or whatever. But as more and more people were able to get involved in the medical industry, what happened is specialization happened. So now if you have a stomach problem, you go to a stomach doctor. You got an eye problem, you go to an eye doctor. And you have the best chance of having your issue resolved with the right answer. So what's going to happen in your community, you might have 25,000 people that start working on the education system. You might have 25,000 people that start figuring out ways to make your environment better. 25,000 people that start working on the healthcare system. Not one person has the answers, and that's one of the things that I really need people to understand. I don't have the answers. All I have is the tools to find the answers. A great doctor doesn't have all the answers. He just knows where to find them. All I've done is put the components together so that we can have a 21st century system that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. Just like a car has an engine, a body, and a transmission, this system has a television, a touch-tone phone, and a computer. Very simple.
Now, how would we go about, saying, hey, I'm all for it, let's give it a try, because, like you said, we've had a failure in our current system. I don't have no representation anymore in this country. I used to. I left one party to go to another party. Now they don't even represent me. So I'm stuck out there with no representation, So, okay. A couple more questions.
Okay, let me just give you a little game plan first, okay, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't tackle somebody that's bigger than you from the top down. I don't know if you ever played football, but you tackle them from the ground up. You hit them low.
Oh yeah.
And right now in your community, what you've got is 9 people that sit on a city council, and those are the people that are making the decisions in your community. What you have to do as a community is you have to approach those people and you have to say, listen, you got a voice, now I want a voice. And you don't have to have the plan because I've got the plan. And the plan is on our website. Our website is called One Voice Now, O-N-E, voicenow.info. And it will show you how an issue can go right through your community. It'll show you how to set up the local issues television and radio channel, and then actually a high school kid can actually build a computer that you can have in your community that will hold your citizen participation identification numbers. But all you've got to do is, first of all, have a better plan. You know, going to your city council and saying, hey, you know, things are terrible, you need to fix this. They can't. And just like you can't go to work without tools, what you've got, what you're bringing the city council is the tools that you want installed in your community to give everybody in your community a real voice.
What's that website again?
OneVoiceNow.info.
O-N-E?
O-N-E, voicenow.info. And my book is on there. Yes, .info. And my book is on there. The book is called 300, the number 300, and the word Million Minds, Changing America Piece by Piece, P-I-E-C-E by P-E-A-C-E. And everything you need to know is in that book. The whole system is in that book. And, you know, you can't just go to your city council, like I said, and say, fix it. They can't fix it. You can. You've just got to have a better idea for your community. I think that this is it. Like I said, if somebody's got a better idea, I'll go with their plan. But I think this is a pretty good plan because, hey, if you're blind, you can participate in the system. If you're deaf, you can participate. If you're quadriplegic, you can participate. Everybody can participate.
All right, that sounds like a pretty good plan there. Let me see if I had one more. I think I had one more question on my head. Here's a constitutional question. Would we still have our Constitution in place, or would we have to rewrite our Constitution?
Yeah, this country is not being run according to any Constitution. And so, you know, that all the Constitution was an attempt to build a vehicle to take your voice to Washington or state capitals or downtown. Those politicians were just supposed to be electrical impulses that got on their horses and rode back and forth to Washington or state capitals or downtown. They were supposed to come out in your fields, talk to you about the different issues, get back on their horses, and take your ideas to Washington. They got bought off. The electrical impulses got shorted out. We live in the 21st century. We don't need them doing that for us anymore. And we can now carry our own voices. We can stop being misrepresented and start representing ourselves. And as far as the federal government, all we really need them for is a military. That's it. All the other things we can do in our own communities. And when you do that, you're going to provide jobs for people. And what you do is you set up the right tax system in your community, and that money stays right in your community except for whatever percentage that each community decides to send to Washington to finance the military.
That makes good sense. All right, I appreciate it. That's pretty much all the questions I have for right now, but if I think of anything else, I'll call back.
Okay, good to talk to you.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, David, that was good. That was good. Good call.
Yeah, I'd like to know if I'd like people to call in and say that they either like this or if they don't like it, and if they don't like it, tell me why, and maybe we can discuss it. And if they've got a better plan, like I said, let's go with their plan. But I think this is pretty simple, man. You got a TV, yeah. You got a touch-tone phone, yeah. Well, why don't you just watch issues over the TV and vote by phone? How much simpler can we make it, Rick?
Well, you can't make it any simpler. I mean, you know, you think about it, we vote for everything else. I mean, all these reality shows that are on TV, we vote for them all the time. You know, vote, 9401, 9402, 9403, based on which one you want. I mean, it's simple. It's simple, but yet it's suppressed from the real critical issues like these.
Yeah, we're voting on silly things that really don't matter to us. And what we've got to do is really start voting on things that do matter to us. And what it's going to do is allow us to start communicating with one another again. You know, when there's an issue, well, let me walk you through an issue just so you see how easy this thing is. Once we get people registered in the community computer with an ID number, we don't want to hear silly issues. What we need is a filtering system. So what the computer is going to do is it's going to pick 10 people at random every week. It's going to give people that have never had the opportunity before to have to be a representative. But they're only going to be there for 1 week, and the reason for that is that the same reason the judicial system gets rid of a jury after every issue, so the money and the corruption doesn't get to them, unlike our present system where these people are professional jurors, if you will, who have been bought and paid for. Mm-hmm. So every week we're going to have a new group of representatives. Dave Frank, average citizen who has an idea to make our community better, has an idea, and his idea is that he thinks that we should have a law that says no driving and drinking, because Dave Frank is tired of seeing young people dead on the road every morning. So he can present his idea to these 10 people. If the majority of these 10 people think that this is an idea that should be considered, then Dave goes to the next step. The next step is videotaping Dave and his issue and presenting that to the community over our local issues television and radio channel for a period of 10 days. There will be 2 phone numbers that will be given. One number of people can call and be part of a lobbying group for the issue. One number they can call and be part of a lobbying group against the issue. When they call either one of these numbers, information will be given to them as to where and when these 2 lobbying groups are going to come together and prepare. 30 days later, we're going to have a debate by these 2 lobbying groups. We're going to videotape the debate and assign an issue number to it. We're going to replay that for a period of 10 days. Anyone that's interested in this issue will be able to pick up any touch-tone phone. Their call will go into they'll call a local number. It'll go into the community computer. They'll be asked for their ID number and PIN number. They'll be asked what issue number you want to vote on. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, count your vote, block you out from voting more than once. Every time the debate is replayed, there'll be an updated tally of the yeses and the nos, so that at the end of 10 days, people in the community will not only understand the issue, be educated on the issue, but the outcome will come from them. And we will implement that idea in our community. And like I said, when we find things that work in our community, we'll share that information with 999 other communities. And when they find things, they'll share it with us, and we can start rebuilding America from the ground up.
And just to make sure that we're not dealing with Chads and Dimples, there'll be a confirmation. Did you mean to push 1?
Sure. You can make it as, this is just the Model T. It'll get better and better and better. And you'll probably be able to eventually vote over the Internet, too. But the nice thing about it is, as these issues are going through your community, people can share information, ideas over the Internet, to help them decide how they would vote on that issue. And because we want people, looking at these issues from different perspectives. And it's sharing information. Think of this whole thing like your brain. What you've got is a bunch of brain cells. And if those brain cells aren't interconnected, your brain can't work. And what this system does is it interconnects all of the brain cells in your community. And then when you do that 1,000 times across America, all of a sudden you've got almost 300 million brain cells up and running. And I'm sure that once we do this in America, they're going to use this in Egypt and Syria and Russia and Israel and Africa and places around the world. And we keep sharing information instead of smart bombs and killing people. And I'm still trying to figure out how that helps anything.
Yeah, good point. Drones.
Other than feeding the military-industrial complex, of course.
Right. So, David, we're on the clock. It's about 2 minutes left in the show, but we're gonna keep recording probably another 10 minutes after the clock runs out. But the people in the chat room and the people listening by telephone, it'll suddenly cut off at the 2-minute mark. But if you come back and you listen to the archive, the recording will be full at that point. So I'm just letting you know. It's just a little warning there. But David, I do understand. It's not necessarily an objection that I've heard yet, but I know that the objection's coming. Some people that are very prone to thinking within the constitutional structure, within the Republican form of government kind of structure, they're going to say, that your particular plan is tearing apart the fabric of what America was made from. What's your response to them? And I know that you're not, you don't respond harshly to anybody, but how do you respond to that?
I would respond to that by saying that our system is not working, and it hasn't worked for a long time. We're $16 trillion bankrupt. That's 16 million for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And we're never going to dig out of this. If our founding fathers were here today and they saw the system that they started with, they'd say, you people have to use the technology that you now have that we didn't have 235 years ago, and you have to use that technology to make a better plan. Because our founding fathers were inventors, and they used the technology that they had back then, but they had no clue that this technology was
right.
ever going to exist. And what we've got to do is we've got to be like our founding fathers. When it wasn't working for them, they had to come up with a better plan, and they came up with the Constitution. Well, 235 years later, our system isn't working again. And remember, a revolution is one complete turn, and you're right back where you started. That's where we're at right now. We're back where they were. They don't have a system that works for the people. And what our founding fathers were inventors, and if they were here today, and if they had access to this communication technology that is nothing short of miraculous, believe me, especially after they see the taxes that we're paying. Remember, they had a revolution over a 4-cent a pound tax on tea. Right. What do you think they'd say about property taxes and and license plates and fishing licenses and sales taxes?
It was an unfair question, David.
No, it was a very fair question, Rick.
The reason
I appreciate that question, but people have to realize that we can't do what we did 235 years ago. We live in an entirely different world. No, I think it's a very good question, and I appreciate you asking it. Look, all this is the tools to find the answers to our problems. We know that the politicians don't have the answers. They are the problems. So we have one of three alternatives as far as systems. We can have a dictatorship, and you can look back just 70 years ago and see that it didn't work out real good for Germany.
That's what we have now.
where one person makes decisions for everybody. We can have what we have now, which is 535 dictators making decisions for 300 million, and it didn't work out very good for us now. Or the alternative is for us to evolve into adulthood and start resolving these issues ourselves and start representing ourselves. And look, I mean, if people want to keep, replacing Democrats for Republicans, for Libertarians, for Independents, and they think that there's 535 people out there somewhere that has more knowledge and wisdom than 300 million people, wake up. Just wake up. Who are these people? And, if I ever heard somebody say, you need to vote for me because I really know what's best for you, I think I know more than 500,000 people, because that's what each person in Washington, D.C. basically speaks for, 500,000 people. If I heard that person say that, I'd say you are screwed up to believe that you could possibly know more than 500,000 people.
I agree with that statement. I just want to go back to the question that I asked you. The reason I said it's unfair was what my statement was, if our founding fathers say they had perpetual life all the way from the time that they lived all the way till now.
Mm-hmm.
All along the way, they would have had seizures and heart attacks. I mean, because we've had all kinds of problems on top of problems on top of problems, and it wasn't based on their system. Because I think what they did, they set up a system that was as close to perfect as anybody ever had. Okay.
With the technology that they
Right.
had to work with, it was an incredibly brilliant system.
Right.
But they also realized that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes.
And that's
right.
where we're at in America, and that's where people, leadership is in other countries. It's corrupt.
And David, I would go back and I'd look at the Declaration of Independence, or maybe it was a preamble to the Constitution. I get those two mixed up a little bit, but there's a little word in there that a lot of people miss. It says, in order to make a more perfect union. They weren't saying it was perfect. They were just trying to make it more perfect.
and Rick, I think this makes it a more perfect union. It's bringing the people together. And I think that's why God gave us His technology, so that we could interconnect these brain cells and start sharing information and stop fighting like they did, and it's so barbaric, and all we've got to do is have a voice to say, no, you aren't going to steal from the American people any longer. And I mean, we can do it with guns, but then what do we do when we light that fuse? Who do we shoot?
Right. David, with the last 8 or 9 minutes here, would you like to talk a little bit about your plans for community financial centers? Because I think it's important for people to understand that we don't need those FRNs, those Federal Reserve notes anymore.
No, we don't need that anymore. Once again, the technology that we have. Keep in mind, the only reason we needed those Federal Reserve notes were to transfer numbers. We have a barter system, but instead of trading chickens for pigs, what we do is we exchange units of energy called numbers. And right now we have the banks and the credit card companies that are laughing all the way to the bank. Every time we transfer numbers from one person to another, they get a piece of the action. Well, what we can do in our own community is set up a community financial institution so that we can use that to trade with, and we can set up a tax system. Keep in mind that when you buy something, 7% goes to the state and 3% goes to the credit card company, a total of 10%. What we can do is set up a community financial institution so that every time we trade with each other, 10% automatically goes right downtown to pay for the things that you, the people, want paid for. I think one of the biggest issues in our communities in this country right now is health care. We've got two alternatives that we've heard about. We've got national health care, which is a joke, and we've got the insurance companies that we can't afford them any longer. The third alternative is community health care, where we, the people, own the hospital. We have doctors on salary, not on commission, like used car salesmen. You educate the community on your health, and all of a sudden, every time there's a transaction, everybody automatically has health care that finances the doctors and the hospitals and the pharmaceuticals that you need, and all of a sudden we can start making that issue better in our lives. That's just one issue. I mean, education's another one, environment, whatever. But there are other people out there that have ideas to make these things better. We've got to tap into them.
You're absolutely right, and I love that picture that you just put up there before us. You're talking about having a community healthcare, a community hospital where basically you as a community are choosing what kind of doctors you're going to put in there, what the doctor's salaries are going to be, so on and so forth. I like that because there's some of us out there that don't choose to use allopathic medicine. We like to use natural or naturopathic medicine. and we're pushed off to the side today because it's not respected in a sense by the establishment, So it would really help. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the great thing about this local issues television and radio channel, you can start sharing ideas like that with your community.
Right.
And the answer isn't taxes and laws that punish you. The answer is education and sharing information. That's what this tool does. It allows us to communicate ideas to make our lives better. We got to stop being punished. We got 2.5 million people in prison today, and we have a total of 6 million people in prisons and on probation. That's only at one time. Think of all the people going in and all the people coming out. We can't keep living like this. This is silly. So what we need is an alternative system. I believe that this is it. I hope people really like it. And let me give my website one more time. It's onevoicenow.info, and the book is 300 Million Minds Changing America Piece by Piece.
And that's a great title for the book. And for those of you who are listening and who are paying attention, I'd go out and I'd get that book. The book, David, what's it selling for these days?
I think it's $13 or $14, something like that.
Right, and I'm guessing you could just go to Amazon or something.
Yep, it's on Amazon, and please get it. Just read it, and then approach your city council and say, hey, I got a book here. I've got a better plan. This is what we want to do in our community. Look, as long as we're all going off in different directions, some people, they're involved in, chemtrails. Some people are involved in education issues. Some people are involved in judicial system. As long as we're all going in different directions, they've got us. The biggest threat to this system is if we all start thinking the same thing at the same time, that you need the tools so that you can start addressing these issues yourselves and quit relying on the politicians. God's trying to tell us something. Remember, look at the word politics. A tick is a bloodsucker. Politics means many bloodsuckers.
Oh, that's a great way to wrap up this particular show. David, I just want to thank you again for being a part of this, and I love having you on, and I think we're going to just keep inviting you to come back again and again and again to not just to reiterate what you're saying already, but even to give us updates and just participate in this kind of discussion.
Hey, Rick, thanks for having me on. I appreciate having the opportunity to share this idea, and I hope people like it.
They do like it, David. There's no question about that. I probably had more people in the chat room than I ever had tonight, and that was the first caller I've ever had on this show. So we've made a lot of firsts tonight, and that's getting pretty exciting. So thank you again. So for David Frank, this is Rick Hidalgo. This has been another installation of the House of Hidalgo show on the State Radio Network. Thank you for coming. God bless all, and stay safe.